again, everyone. Super excited for this panel, The Future of Web3 Gaming. I am Camila Russo, the founder of The Defiant, the best source of information for DeFi and Web3. I'd love to start off by just getting quick intros from everyone. We have some great founders of some great projects, so just very briefly so we can get to the actual meat of the conversation.
Right, so my name is Danny. I'm CTO co-founder of Cave World. We're one of the kind of OG original projects that started in 2021, along with some others. We're building a mobile and PC multiplayer competitive game, a turn-based strategy, and we're also pretty large contributors to open source in the Solana ecosystem, ranging from SDKs for Solana mobile on Unreal and upcoming SDK for Unreal in general, and just working on infrastructure and trying to make gaming happen in Solana. So that's me.
Awesome. Hey everyone, I'm Michael. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Star Atlas. We're building a AAA open world space exploration MMO. We're actually doing quite a few cool things with on-chain gaming logic and really trying to use Solana as kind of a back-end game engine for the product itself. I'm sure we'll get into that a bit more over the course of the conversation, but really excited to be here.
Awesome. My name is DFL Erwin. I'm a team lead and co-founder of DeFi Land, the first game to launch on Solana, and one of the first games after Star Atlas, I guess, on Solana. And we've been gamifying DeFi since 2021, and currently we're building lots of different hyper-casual and casual games around Solana. And we're launching soon new mobile and web games coming in summer.
Hi everyone, my name is Shiti and I'm the CEO of FSL. FSL is the parent company of this little game called Stepin, which is multi-chain. Another NFT marketplace, multi-chain called More. Another game on Polygon called Gas Hero. Another multi-chain DEX called Door. And our recently launched wallet and ID service called FSL ID.
Awesome. Well, let's just start by talking about why gaming should be on blockchains. Like, what about crypto and blockchain technologies is unique, and what does enable that traditional Web2 gaming cannot do? Let's start with you.
So I would say that I think that we're still proving that thesis, right? Should gaming be on blockchain? We think it should because that's why we're here. I think that some early ideas kind of disproven themselves. Some people thought that, like vampire marketing is the main deal. And I tend to think, that gaming is interesting because of, gaming on blockchain is interesting for two reasons for us. Composability is one. So like the blockchain allows you to essentially release something and have a mutual language with your community and with other projects in which they can contribute to what's going on in your economy without having to coordinate with you and without you having to trust them. So I think that's one major reason. And I think the second major reason is that markets are notoriously hard to build and very expensive once you scale them. And not every game developer realizes that. And I think the blockchain is like a really cool unified ecosystem where anyone can launch any market and participate in any market, again, without asking, without permission, and without being burdened with like 30% fees. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. I have maybe 3 or 4 different arguments that I would make in favor of on-chain gaming. I think probably the oldest one is just this idea of real and true asset ownership for the players. In every traditional studio model, there are express prohibitions from trading your assets or selling gold or selling a character or an account, regardless of how much time you've invested into playing that character. And I think with on-chain assets, NFTs, SFTs, we do empower the player to not only enjoy their experience in the game, but also have that financial and monetary opportunity to turn around and sell those assets to another player. I think this is where marketplaces are very big, and enabling that peer-to-peer exchange between players is very empowering. The second is really this creation of a new form of economy. So using digital currencies as essentially the in-game gold or the in-game currency gives rise to this idea of play to earn. which, by the way, I've been arguing very much over the past couple of years that play to earn is not dead. Play to earn perhaps has not been executed in a way that was sustainable, but that doesn't mean that it can't work. And so one of the things that we're heavily focused on at Star Atlas is creating sustainable systems and architecture around economies that enable a producer and consumer and specialization-driven system of earning from the game. So that's different from using, say, a hyperinflationary token emission model where, yes, it might be attractive to the earliest players because they can capture a lot of value, with the unfortunate downside being that there's no utility on the back end of that token, and ultimately it just leads to the demise of the token itself. And so creating more sophisticated systems of economics in, say, an MMO creates this global opportunity for players all over the world to participate in a new labor market of sorts. And while I think it's very important that the product that comes out is in fact entertaining, it is enjoyable, that is the core essence of what we're building, ultimately what we're creating is this brand new global economy opportunity set. And then just to follow up on what Danny said, I completely agree that one of the biggest advantages is this idea of on-chain composability, or composability rather. And so in our case, we have an orchestration of some 12 or 15 different game systems that facilitate the mechanics of playing the game, things like movement and mining and crafting, fleet formation, XP, character progression systems. All of these are living on chain, and what we're already seeing is that people from our own community are able to permissionlessly tap into that logic layer and start building their own applications on top of that. So systems for automation, systems that integrate DeFi services, various tools and UI enhancements that other players are making. Nobody comes to us and asks us if they can do it, nor do we want them to. We just want to enable them to do that. And that's what we're already seeing, and that's something that we're going to be pushing heavily for in the months and years to follow.
Awesome. Yeah, it will be hard to add some new things to all these different things, and we, I believe, covered majority of the perks of the Web3 gaming, but I'll try to expand on that, like on our experience. I believe, like, yeah, ownership is definitely a thing that helps to differ, like what the Web2 gaming and Web3 gaming do, and economical models is definitely a thing. Like if you look at one of the biggest marketplaces that a Web2 has, the Steam marketplace, and the amount of the volume that there's doing, for example, Counter-Strike, skins, or whatsoever, it's just like if it was on-chain and you don't get the taxes and you can just actually have it in liquid money, that would be pretty cool and pretty big, and I believe like we're going in the right direction. But I believe also the composability is one of the things from a different scope as well. Like different Web3 games can really easily do different things together. For example, you can take one asset from an existing game, for example, from Star Atlas, and for example, bring that into the DFL game, for example, and create a mini game around that. And that actually already helps everyone to grow the pie together, because you can, one player that has one asset can actually play another game with the same asset within different game. And you can do those in different ways. We have done that with simple, just really simply, but we have done that with the bank as well. And we did the bank integration there in our game, and we did like just really simple mini game, and we got actually 5K new users by that campaign, and that is something you cannot really do simply in Web 2. And I believe Web 3 enables that, and creating some kind of great experiences for the users is really important. But all the different things that the previous speakers have touched on is really important. I believe the Web 3 gaming will shine a lot soon.
Yeah, I would classify them in 4 buckets. So one is composability, second is transparency, third is ownership, and fourth is incentivization/community. I think we have fairly spoken here with Michael, Danny, and Erwin about composability and ownership part of it. So I can maybe touch upon the community and incentivization, which has been very instrumental in how STEPN and FSL has looked. When you're not a VC-funded business with millions of dollars to reach consumer, I think Web3 is unique in the way it gives access to users. So building an early community with part ownership of NFTs is a fantastic and unique way. So that's what blockchain does. The second part is incentivization. So it's not like we're inventing new business models. Sweatcoins and Stravas of the world are here. But what they've not been able to do really well is micropayments in a transparent way. And that's, again, what Onchain brings to the table. So whether it's Hive Mapper, whether it's USDT settling $3 trillion, which is the biggest case of blockchain itself, micro or big payments on chain and transparent ways unique to blockchain again.
Okay, so fascinating stuff. I think you've all discussed some actual, unique use cases for games actually having a need for blockchains, because I think that's the main criticism we hear, is that we're trying to fit we're trying to find a solution to a problem that doesn't exist with blockchains and games. But I think having this open, composable system that's permissionless and anyone can join, then everyone owns their own assets, and we have this native incentive mechanism that's also very efficient, that allows for micropayments. I mean, those are actual things that just cannot happen in Web 2. So those elements are there, but maybe the question is whether they have come together in a way that actually showcases that potential. Would be curious to hear your thoughts on whether that's been the case. Like, have Web3 games so far been able to convey that value to users? And if not, what's missing to make that experience as good as it can and should be?
Well, have they? No, for sure not yet. I think that game development in general is a longer process than web development or native app development. If you classify them all by time, like you can build a web app in weeks, you can build a mobile app in months, and you can build a game in years, something like that. And I think that the reasons why it hasn't happened yet is basically a lot of kind of technological barriers. So just like to give kudos to the Startless team, they've released Sage, which is, I'm a big fan of. So, and it shows off, for instance, how you can do like transactions in a hot wallet on chain and stuff, because like you don't have to click every single time to approve. And it's a small thing, but for gaming, it's like a crucial thing, because in gaming, nobody's going to play your game if the UX isn't perfect. The game has to feel great. It has to. So I think that the reason, I don't think we've seen the potential yet. And one reason is, of course, the technical barrier and just like the innate nature of how game development takes place. It's a long process. You need to marry a lot of different conflicting elements. Amazing UX, wonderful gameplay, story, world, storytelling. Some things are not even like graspable. Some things are more of a, like an art form than a technical form. And then the second big issue, I think, is that for us, like building a game. So yeah, for the first issue, we're trying to push it forward by heavily participating in open source and releasing things that make it easier for your kind of indie developer to pick up things and do them without having to reinvent the wheel every single time. And for the second thing that I think is preventing us from seeing like the full potential is that games and crypto and trading are still bundled up together. For me, I think the biggest one is like the regulators and the people who are like trying to make the rules happen in society to work around those things haven't figured out how do we treat games, and the kind of the natural desire is to put them together with like stocks and assets and crude oil. And like game tokens shouldn't and can't behave the same way. But I personally think that there's kind of like a discovery process around how do you regulate and how do you make it safe for gamers to develop something without being treated like they're treating commodities and assets and opening themselves to all sorts of regulation. This is still really unclear. And I think as that resolves itself, which takes time, regulation takes time, we will see more and more stuff. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Danny, that was a good description of our, what we call Atlas Prime, which is a process that we use for account architecture and structuring and permission management so that players are able to establish a game session hot wallet when they initiate a new game session, and that eliminates the need for them to sign every transaction that they're processing within the game. This is very valuable from a UX standpoint and user flow standpoint. If you're moving the map 5 times and you have to approve that transaction through Soulflare or Phantom or Backpack, well, that can get monotonous and tedious. So how do we secure and protect the user's assets in cold storage and still enable, through a permission system that protects those assets, a way to operate seamlessly within the game? So thanks for bringing that up. But in terms of, do we have product market fit, I would approach this probably from a market segmentation standpoint. And generally, we think about 3 different buckets of users of the gaming product, and of course, that's the gamer themselves. Now, you could get really granular on that, whether you're talking about mobile games, casual games, free-to-play, AAA games. You could create an exhaustive list, but let's just say you have the gamer that wants to come in and use the product for the experience itself. In crypto, you have the trader and the speculator, the investor mentality. These are people that might just purchase a portfolio of assets with the intention of loaning that out or renting that out or participating in a scholarship program. They see this as a form of passive cash flows for them. So this can be a very compelling proposition. And then you do have the players that are more extractive focused. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there's actually a great opportunity, as I described, in creating this opportunity set through the economy to empower people globally who perhaps live at a lower standard of living. And despite the criticisms of, say, Axie Infinity, to me, they're inspirational because while their model wasn't long-term sustainable, what they did prove out is that you can genuinely attract a very broad audience, even of non-gamers, to your product if you can offer financial incentives, right? And there were people in the Philippines that were generating higher income, a higher standard of living, than that which they were able to earn locally. And so if we can do that all over the world, we can bring in billions of people to games. So I think that's really powerful. Now, in terms of who have we reached so far, in a way, we've largely reached the investor mentality and the play-to-earn mentality, or that extractor. I think in this cycle and over the next couple of months and years, as we see some of these more sophisticated, higher quality, traditional style AAA games come online, we will start to see the onboarding of the masses and prove out that what we're doing with these games not only has fundamental value from the product and entertainment standpoint, but here's a whole lot more that we can provide to you through the on-chain integration and crypto integration.
Yeah, I would touch points in I think that everyone is currently experimenting with different things, like what kind of economic models work, what kind of models for the fundraise work, what game design should be there. So everyone is trying to find the best product market fit. But the problem with that is, mainly how this works is, like, for example, we have seen the Axie Infinity that has been really successful, and then everyone was trying to be next Axie Infinity, and that doesn't work like that. Like, if we've seen what was the problem with their economic model, but people were not thinking about that. People were launching the games just like Axie Infinity, thinking that they would be like next billion-dollar company. That doesn't work like that. But additionally, the problem, I believe, is that people are not sure what kind of games they want to build. If you think that you want to build a AAA game, and you think that your game main target gonna be gamers, you should not be focusing on launching some kind of different mini games, or you should not be really focusing, in my opinion, to just like about the talking much. The way where the Web2 companies in the gaming work is they raise a bunch of millions of dollars, they get a huge team, and they build the product for several years non-stop. They are not focused on launching some kind of mini game, getting feedback, then doing that several times, because they would not be able to build a huge game like that. So first of all, you should really decide, are you building a game for the Web3 degens or investors, or are you going for the game that is actually going to change the Web3 gaming, and like people are going to play your game instead of League of Legends or Counter-Strike or whatsoever. So that's the first thing people should consider, why they are building the games. And if you are building a game for a Web3, and that's pretty normal, that's what we doing, I believe, is that like then you should create the experience for not just the traditional gamers and cry why traditional gamers are not playing your game, but actually try to make sure that the Web3 degens, the people with the money, people who are going to buy your token or who are going to buy your NFTs, love your game, love your experiences, because those two are really, really different things. So I believe a lot of gaming studios and gaming companies are really lost between there, like, should we build the real game for the gamers, can become an esport, or should we go and just speculate on the price, or should we just like really sell the hopes for the future? So I believe like we've been lost there as well, and I believe at some point everyone is lost there, and everyone's trying to figure out what's the best next move. But that's the main problem, I believe, as of now. And additionally, just to quickly touch on that as well, everyone is trying to figure out like, is the fully on-chain games best, or should you have some kind of stuff on your backend running on AWS? What's kind of the perfect balance between that? So right now, there is no right answer, so everyone's experimenting on that, and yeah, we will see in the next couple of years, I believe, that like what's the next best move and what the people and the actual gamers and Web3 legends love the most. So I believe we have not found any product market fit yet, but we have done really nice experiments so far that have worked and have not worked.
Yeah, I agree. I think we are in the phase of discovery, right, where we are sort of collectively defining what do even Web3 games mean. Does that mean all the moves reside on chain? Because our scalability and infra is not ready for that kind of thing. Even if you were to take chess online, we can't do that with more than 2,000 players, just moving 64 by 64 pieces. While we are in that phase of discovery, it is possible that we arrive at some kind of game which is not viewed as a traditional AAA game with the graphics that take 6 months and millions of dollars to spend and make, right? For example, while people love to say, what is the Web3 version of Twitter and Facebook? The next biggest success for Web3 after payment settlement is SocialFi. And the way we have seen Friendtech or BitCloud or any of those things evolve, they're going to be an evolution of Facebook and not a Web3 version of Facebook. Perhaps in gaming, we could be looking at gamifying things, right? So what we've seen is that before we do pure play gaming per se, there are places we could gamify lifestyle, fitness, or a different version of games that don't exist for AAA. For example, with Dark Forest, a lot of mods that came for bots, because the NPC bots and the bots that were front-running, they started doing the mods itself. So, there's a big meme, right? Like, fuck around, find out. We're perhaps in that stage, and we'll soon find out.
I've posted that on Twitter a number of times, by the way. DFL, we will have to agree to disagree on the crowdfund, iterate, release, in mini-game model, but we can take that up off stage.
Yeah, sure.
Super interesting stuff. Okay, so first thing is that you all agree that Web3 gaming still hasn't found product market fit. I mean, we're in the discovery phase, as Shiti said, still experimenting and figuring out what works. And part of it is because of how long it takes to build a good game, like you were saying, and a huge part is because there's still no right answer on how much of the game should be on-chain, and how to serve the different audiences or groups that are actually interested in Web3 gaming, because there are very different interests and groups at play. Like Michael was saying, the traders and speculators, the extractive users who are wanting to earn money from the game, and just the gamers themselves. But I think the core of it, like the answer has to come through building an actually enjoyable game first, and then all those groups will be satisfied at some point, because like you can speculate for around the game, but for that model to be successful, the game has to create actual value. Like it has to have like actual gamers using those assets for gaming. But I'd love to come back to this point on, what aspects should be blockchain-based, what not, like what's the right balance? If we can just spend a little bit of time talking about that, I think it's super interesting. Like, and should those aspects be fully abstracted from the end user, or are people coming to Web3 games actually interested in just like seeing crypto, like interacting directly with like the blockchain and crypto assets?
All of it, I think. Like you can't really I don't really believe that you can say what should be. I think everyone is going to do something else, and we're going to see what works and what doesn't. I know that some people are religiously saying that if you are even a little bit not on chain, you're not a real Web3 game, and like, and then some people are, you know, going to the opposite extreme and saying like, you know, because we have one NFT, like we're a crypto, like. But is anyone wrong in this equation? I'm not necessarily thinking so, because it's not a religion, we're not a cult. We're trying to basically discover how can we use a technology, which is in the end it's a technology, which turned into subculture and a movement and a community. There's a lot of kind of ideology involved, freedom from controlling parties and trustlessness and everything. But I think that, you know, all of it is applicable. I don't see personally, maybe, you know, other people could disagree, but I don't see that there should be something. I think we should try everything. And I think for the bigger, more funded crews, I think they definitely should push the envelope forward in what can be done fully on chain, because it's complex. Like, it takes a lot of money and a lot of man hours to actually build fully on-chain stuff. You can't do like build quick and break things, move fast and break things on-chain. It just simply doesn't work. But yeah, I think everyone should do everything, and the more design space we explore, the more we will find out, like was said here, what works, because it's like should or shouldn't doesn't really work like that. It works what do people like, what do people not like. And if someone likes to play a game where only like one NFT is on chain and the rest, fine. If someone loves to interact with something where every little tiny thing is a complex 25 contract, you know, that is also amazing. I
guess like the question is like, how can games better leverage the technology, or like, yeah, like what do you guys think? Or how should crypto be leveraged in gaming? Like what parts of crypto make sense to add to games?
So literally every part, yeah. So like we had a little experiment that we did with like a card game where literally everything is on chain as part of like a hackathon thing. And then markets where I think we still haven't fully exhausted the extent of what you can do with blockchain. And some people say like, no, it's terrible to put data on chain. Why would you do that? It's too expensive, blah, blah, blah. But then people do put data on chain and it works great. So I think if you have a cool idea and you think it should be tried and you have enough people to fund that attempt, because like that's the cool thing about crypto. Like if there's a community that's willing to, let's say, buy your NFT or something and you use those funds to explore a certain idea, I think it should be tried. But obviously the most obvious attempts, like, or the most obvious things people are using it for markets, because crypto is inherently financial. So anything that has to do with microtransactions and markets and items and trading and everything. But also I think I've seen some really cool use cases of character profiles that can exist fully on chain, that can then be shared between multiple games and universes. I've seen really cool stuff that has to do with like resource generation and mining, and literally anything that has to do with like exchanging hands trustlessly, and so it lends itself to that. But I think we're going to see crazier and crazier stuff as we build.
Danny, Star Atlas might very well be a cult, just for clarification, but I'll maybe address the other part of the question, which is the abstraction component that you were asking about. Like, should the users know that they're interacting with blockchain? In our opinion, and I'm pretty outspoken about being an evangelist for the underlying ideology or philosophy of crypto, having been in the space for a very long time now. So I'm a major proponent of not abstracting that away, not necessarily using custodial services. I think there are some innovations that are coming along, like MPC services, where you can provide a safety mechanism for users to recover their assets in the event they were to lose a seed phrase or something like that. But generally speaking, what I believe is that we should be encouraging our users to understand the technology and how to use the technology. And in many ways, that is counterproductive for business purposes because we're essentially creating friction in the onboarding process. If it was one click, you just start playing the game, your wallet spins up in the background, you never have to worry about protecting those assets, well, sure, in one sense, that's a lot easier to get that user on board. And maybe it is even safer for the majority of users out there. But what I believe is that if we can inform people and educate people through time, and I think we have a really great opportunity to do this with gaming because when people are having fun, they'll have a higher propensity to learn and spend time learning. If we teach people about how to self-custody assets and secure their wallets and protect their seed phrases, then they will be exposed to all of the tangential benefits of every product and service that's available in crypto today, and that includes things like DeFi. So I don't think we need to pigeonhole users directly into a specific gaming product. I think there's a bigger opportunity here to bring them in, Trojan horse them into crypto with a fun game, teach them about the wallet setup process, and then release them into the wild and let them be a bigger part of the crypto ecosystem.
Super interesting take. What do you guys think, Erwin and Shiti? Is it, do you think people should go through a tougher time and in order to like be truly onboarded to crypto and learn about it through gaming, or would you rather have like a very seamless Web2 like experience and just like get the next billion users faster?
Yeah, I believe I would have to agree that like we have to educate the people about like why Web3, why they should care about ownership, what's the wallet, how that works. But like I believe like kind of for the onboarding process and experience, it's a huge friction. Like whenever there's a guy coming and sees like this 12 words that seed phrase, like you have to write that down on the paper. It's a little bit hard. So I think that the best, in my opinion, the best way of the onboarding is like you onboard them really smoothly, maybe through the socials, Google or Facebook logins and whatsoever, and then while they are playing your game, you slowly turn them into the power users. You educate them, you give them quizzes, you give them your tokens if they answer. If they create the wallet and if they write down on the paper, you incentivize them and turn to power users. And then like you release in the wild, as I mentioned, and I believe that's a great thing to do. And in my opinion, doing that on the onboarding process is a little bit tricky. It's a little hard thing to do on the education perspective, but like if you do that in the process of while they are having fun, they will enjoy it and they will become really great power users, and then they will bring even more users as well to your game and the crypto.
Yeah, I think technology works best when it's in the background. If it becomes the conversation, adoption hinders, always. I think I said it yesterday as well. We don't say anymore how beautiful or wonderful electricity is, but fundamentally the world runs on electricity tech, including this, everything, health, infrastructure, governments, education. AI existed for 20 years, right, in chatbots and everything that we do, but ChatGPT had to come for it to have mass adoption, the real use case, fun, experience, convenience, whatever. That moment for blockchain is going to come, yes. It's inevitable. It is that beautiful a tech, but we have to get to the level of scalability when mass adoption can happen. Right now, we're caught in this loop where STEPN got 5 million users and Solana broke. Solana got congested the moment meme coin mania hit. Right, so we're sort of in this negative prophecy where the moment we get many users, the infra breaks. That apart, the users fundamentally come to a product for fun/experience in case of gaming, for community/accountability, belongingness, or financial gains or convenience, which broadly is one of the biggest use cases of the crypto right now. Till the time we can develop a fun or a gamified way, in a proper way, I think financial is the way to go. Because it's financial, a lot of education is needed. So that's what I agree here, what's being discussed, right? So because people have to have security of their assets and protection, and the space is anyway full of rug pulls and scams, education is needed. But can education alone lead to the kind of mass adoption that we're looking for? Maybe not. Yeah, that's the way we sow seeds. That's the way we get an early adopter community, and that's exactly where we are. But if we have our sights set on billions of users, we have to have the infra, tech, gamified experiences, fun, everything in a place. And it's going to happen step by step. I think collectively we are all doing that sort of effort in our own little way, developing products, developing tech, developing use cases, education pieces to slowly get there.
Great. Okay, so I'm glad we got two very different takes on how gaming should happen. Probably the answer is somewhere in the middle. I think it's you know, like Shiti said, the next game that really breaks out to the mainstream probably won't look like previous Web2 games that made it, and maybe that uniqueness is how people will experience crypto through the game. So kind of like what Michael was saying, just like having that actually acknowledging, oh, like this is I can't do this because of crypto. In any case, I think we will see a lot of the next wave of users come through Web3 gaming. So yeah, great to hear from all you guys on what's coming and where we are in this, you know, huge piece of the sector. So thank you so much for a fascinating talk, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.